Welcome to the podcast about venture capital, where investors and founders alike can learn how VCs make decisions and reach conviction. Your host is Nick Moran, and this is The Full Ratchet.
Welcome back to TFR for another edition of Investor Stories. On this segment, the experts talk about a startup that failed and the causes of that failure. Here's the segment called Post-Mortems. On today's special segment, we have Dayna Grayson and Rachel Holt of Construct Capital. Dayna and Rachel, can you tell us a story about a portfolio company that failed and why it failed?
Sure. This is Dayna again. Given that I've been in investing for a while, I probably have more of these than Rachel, thankfully. But so invested in a company that, without going into names and everything, was going up against Apple. And, since that time, I've taken the lesson of you really can't invest in anything that Apple can do overnight, because they will do it if it takes off. And sure enough, this company launched an exact competitive product, and overnight the company went from sort of 30 million in revenue to de minimis revenue, and ended up selling ultimately, kind of having a new birth around a product that was very valuable, but very different than the original concept. And so since that time, very hard to compete in anything that Apple can do.
It's kind of amazing to see how big the business has gotten just in AirPods alone.
Yeah.
It's bigger than many of the, the unicorn tech companies like combined. I saw some interesting tweet about it the other day, but many years ago I was thinking, wow, these Bluetooth headphone players are gonna kill it, but not when Apple comes out with a product that works, exactly, much better with their products.
Headphones, poor tile business now, you worry about them.
Right. Good point.
Today we have Nagraj Kashyap, managing partner at the SoftBank Vision Fund. Nagraj, can you tell us a story about a portfolio company that failed and why it failed?
I think that's a hard one because I don't want to really pick on a company. I will tell you that the example I gave earlier in the podcast about the company that relied on social media algorithms for their growth was a company that I would just say, without going into details, actually rocketed up to number one in the and the App Store. And that was a time when everybody was looking at that. That's exactly what happened. I took screenshots. Our company was number one on the App Store. And then very quickly, they had that App Store ranking fall almost to the bottom because people started using them. And so I've seen both sides of it, successes, but this was an example of where is the growth coming from. It's a very hard lesson we took from that company because we were all invested in the sense that this is going to be the next video platform that everybody's going to use. And it turned out to not be.
On today's special segment, we have Parker Barille of Norwest Venture Partners. Parker, can you tell us a story about a portfolio company that failed and why it failed?
Well, luckily for me, I've only been in venture 5 years, and so none of my portfolio companies have failed. But I think looking across our portfolio, once companies have found product market fit, I'd say that the biggest difference maker is the founder's ability to hire world-class executive talent. That to me seems to make the biggest difference on whether a company succeeds in a big way or struggles and fails. And so that's what I spend time with my portfolio companies on, is how do we make sure that you've got the talent on board, because that talent is the scaffolding that allows the company to become bigger and more successful. And so, inevitably, I'm sure one or more of my portfolio companies will fail, right? That's the nature of this business. I'm just lucky that it hasn't happened yet.
Is there a book or a resource on talent and thinking about talent, approach to talent that you advise, people reference?
There's not a book on talent necessarily. There probably the business book I'm quickest to recommend to people is called Influence by Robert Cialdini. A book that I read in business school, but it's probably one of the most impactful things I remember. It's just about the way that the techniques you can use to effectively influence people and lead people. And it's a very pragmatic book. And so I think about it often and I refer it to people frequently. So it's more about leadership than hiring, because I think great leadership creates the right culture within an organization. And then that manifests itself in your employment brand. And that's what attracts talent into the company. When it comes to hiring, I mean, I've done a lot of it. I've built software, hiring software at LinkedIn. And so, I certainly have a point of view on it and provide a lot of coaching, but yeah, don't have a book in that space specifically.
That will conclude this installment of Investor Stories. If you're enjoying the program and would like to see it continue, take a moment and leave a 5-star review in iTunes. Also, if you'd like updates on new content from TFR, as well as the top 10 VC articles every week, go to fullratchet.net and sign up for the newsletter. Okay, that will wrap things up for today. Until next time, over-prepare, choose carefully, and invest confidently. Thanks for joining me.